What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters Allstar video, and it's Saturday, so happy weekend to all of you out there. It's the Saturday Chat and Chill, where we kick back, relax, and we talk about a topic pertaining to the King of Fighters Allstar for about 15 minutes or so. In this week's video, we have a very special topic to be talking about, one that has been requested numerous times here on the channel, and one that I have admittedly not covered here yet, and that is of course going to be, how do I feel about the current state of the King of Fighters All-Star, and do I think that the game is quote-unquote dying? Also, in today's video, at the end of this conversation, we will be announcing the winner of that $25 giveaway that we have had going on for the past couple of weeks. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this week's Saturday Chat and Chill. Nothing like a nice positive topic to kick off the weekend, am I right? So in this week's video, I wanted to talk about this topic because it's one that everybody has been asking me about, it seems like since the very beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys my opinions on whether or not I feel like this game is in some sort of danger of being closed down in the near future, and you guys will be happy to know, and I'm going to get this out of the way right off the bat, just so you guys are aware, I do not think that this game is going anywhere, at least in the near future, and I'm going to try my best to go ahead and lay out all of the reasons why I think that is the case. So, we're going to go ahead and start from the beginning, and we're going to start from the top. The first thing that leads me to believe that this game is okay for the time being is going to be, of course, the news that broke back in January that SNK and Netmarble had come to terms with a contract extension. Now, when this news broke, this was broken by plenty of reputable resources out there, so this isn't something that was just a rumor or something that had been circulating on the forums or so on and so forth. Had that been the case, I would not have even reported on it, because I try to at least vet this kind of information before I go out of my way and cover it here on the channel. So this is well-known information. This is something that sources such as Bleeding Cool had covered, so we know that this is true. And it makes sense, right? Because most of the time when an IP is given over to a developer for a adaptation for a mobile game, typically you're looking at about a 3-year length for a contract, with an option to extend that out, typically over the course of several years. So let's talk about that first and foremost. Timeline-wise, it makes sense. This year being the 3rd anniversary, of course, since the game launched in the Korean side of the world. Basically, what we know is that they did extend in January because that 3rd year was coming up, and of course that would mean that the contract was coming up. Now, we don't have any information on how long that extension was, but if we had to put on our big boy brains and talk about what we thought would be potentially a timeline there, then typically what you're looking at is about 1 to 2 years of an extension, and then the two companies sit down and discuss whether or not they want to extend closer to the date that is going to be the deadline for that new extension. Now, here's the thing though. One thing that people need to realize about SNK in general is, even though they now have that dirty Saudi money, we need to understand that when it comes to SNK, they will whore themselves out for anybody. SNK wants money. SNK doesn't care about anything else at this point. SNK has always been this way. SNK will hand over a property to these developers non-stop if they are getting money at the end of the day. And it really isn't a negative thing that I'm saying here about SNK, it's just the way it is. Let's face it, King of Fighters and SNK in general, as a company, SNK is not the biggest company in the world. SNK isn't even a Capcom. SNK isn't a Sega. It's surely not a Nintendo. So with SNK, they are a very small company, relatively speaking, compared to some of the other companies out there that you would consider competition, especially if you're thinking about companies such as Bandai Namco or Capcom or so on and so forth. Yes, SNK is still technically going to be the underdog when compared to those companies. So what this basically means, and you guys have seen it, how many King of Fighters mobile games are there in the world? And I'm not just talking about in America. I'm not just talking about in Europe. I'm talking across the globe. If you want a really good idea of how many there are out there, go ahead and download the Quo app, which allows you to download games from across the globe, and go ahead and just type into the search bar King of Fighters, and you will see dozens of King of Fighters games adapted and put on that shop. Now, what does that basically mean? That means that SNK lets a lot of people put their hands on this IP. And so what that basically also means is SNK does it for one reason. They do it because of the exposure and the money. And exposure is a big deal for this franchise, right? The King of Fighters is not Street Fighter. The King of Fighters is not Tekken. In some parts of the world, it is. It's kind of like David Hasselhoff. Think about David Hasselhoff. In America, you think of him as the Baywatch guy. But in Germany, they think about him for his music. Would you ever think about David Hasselhoff for his music? No, of course he wouldn't. But in Germany, he's enormous for his music. So the reason why I'm even bringing up David Hasselhoff, what the hell does he have to do with the King of Fighters, is because different regions of the world care about different things. So while the King of Fighters may not be the biggest thing in the United States, and admittedly it is not, as somebody who has been into the King of Fighters since the early 2000s, late 90s, I am somebody who has been living in America with the King of Fighters as a interest of mine for a very long time. And I can tell you right now that whenever you talk about the King of Fighters, 99% of the time people look at you and are like, what the hell is that? So it's one of those things where when people bring up, for instance, the sales numbers, so the financial numbers, we like to talk about quite a bit when it comes to Netmarble as far as how much revenue they're making and their quarterlies and their monthlies and so on and so forth. When people try to compare the King of Fighters Allstar revenue-wise to things such as Seven Deadly Sins Grand Cross, honestly, I don't even address it. And the reason why I don't even address it is because to me, the comparison is ridiculous. And the reason why the comparison is ridiculous is because we've known for several years now that Seven Deadly Sins Grand Cross, even before it came to global, was an enormous hit of a game. Seven Deadly Sins, for better or for worse, whether you like it or you hate it, is a huge IP. A lot of people really like it. It's a fresh IP. It's been something that has come around over the course of the past several years, and therefore it is something that is fresh on people's minds, and it is within a subgenre that is extremely popular right now, which is of course anime. So Seven Deadly Sins, comparing it to this game revenue-wise, is absolutely ludicrous to me, and I guarantee you, whenever they decided to sign on the dotted line to pick up this IP for this game, Netmarble never in their lives expected this game to carry their company. So when people want to talk about revenue and things like that, as long as this game is pulling its weight and paying for itself, and it is doing okay, I don't think Netmarble at the end of the day really gives a crap. And the reason why I don't think Netmarble gives a crap is look at a lot of the things that they have done in the past with some of their other games. If you look at when some of the games that they still to this day support and put out new content for were released, it would make your head spin. Some of their games are 7-8 years old. Think about that. So when you think about how old some of these games are, how many of those games that are that old showed up even anywhere close to the numbers that Seven Deadly Sins Grand Cross was making on that list, on that pie chart, on whatever resource it was you were looking for those revenue numbers or those quarterly numbers? You would notice that most of those older games, a lot of them were not on there. Some of them were, but most of them weren't. And why is that? The reason is because those games are really old, or those are games that were never going to be anything that were going to be able to keep up with a Seven Deadly Sins. So when you think about it in those terms, right? The fact that the running joke, there is a running joke with Netmarble, that they do not let games die. They don't close games down. They just put out a game and then they continue to just lurch out stuff for it over years and years and years until the game is just completely dried up. And that is what brings me to my final point. I do not think that Netmarble really cares at the end of the day whether or not they are making $3, $4, $5 million a month on this game. As long as they are breaking even and they are making some bit of profit, Netmarble is one of those companies that has a track record for not really caring. And that's just the brutal truth. And with SNK, they have a track record of not caring about much of anything else, and as long as it is making them some money. So as long as both sides are making something, I really do not think that this game is in any trouble. And with the fact that we know for a fact that they did sign a contract extension back in January, I really do not see this game going anywhere in the near future. Now, in the next 3 years, yeah, I do think that this game could potentially be shut down in that time. But over the course of the next year, I do not see that coming. And I think that for a lot of people out there, a lot of people just want to look at it from a doom and gloom aspect. I think a lot of people out there, and I think they come from a positive place. I think that they approach it and come from it from a place of, I love this game and I don't want to see anything happen to it. And I see these things going on that make me think that, oh, something could go wrong and something could happen to the future of the game. And so I've got to get on YouTube, or I've got to get on the forums, or I've got to get on Discord, and I've got to scream about it and complain about it, and I've got to get in their ear because I want to save the game because I love this game. And that's okay that you love the game, but do realize that it's not as bad more than likely as you might think. And at the end of the day, would they really be working on things like netcode if they were just going to close the game down? Would they really be going out of their way to start doing new Q&As and start rolling out new agendas where they are trying to bring us in to help them develop certain things or give advice on certain things? Would they be doing all the things that they are doing in the background if they were planning on closing this game down in the foreseeable future, meaning the next few months to a year? I do not think that that would be the case. But that's just going to be my glass half full opinion on this topic, you guys. You may have a completely different one from my own, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, none of us really know anything for certain when it comes to the future of this game, unless you are somebody that is working in a boardroom somewhere in Korea at the Netmarble offices wearing a chrysalid mask on your face. You don't really have any clue what the future holds as far as a timeline for this game, so I think that the best advice I could give anybody at this point when it comes to this, if they're worried about this topic, and I know that there are quite a few people out there that do worry about it, my advice to you is just try to appreciate and enjoy this game for what it is, all the good, all of its bad, all of the in-between. Just try to enjoy it for what it is for now while you have it, because if one thing is certain in life, it is that the future is never certain. This game could be gone in 3 years, it could be gone in 3 days. We do not know. So really, my advice to you is just try to relax, try to enjoy the game for what it's supposed to be meant for, and that's just something that you can waste some time on and enjoy in your free time. But anyway, you guys, that is going to be this week's Saturday Chat and Chill. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know that this is a little bit of a controversial topic, and really, I don't have any insider information on anything that we're talking about today. So really, this is just going to be my take and my opinion. And again, yours may differ. You can leave a comment in the comment section down below and talk about how the end is nigh if you want. But really, I don't think that that is going to be the case, like I've said. So let's go ahead and close this video out on a good note, and that is going to be the $25 gift card giveaway that we had going on the past couple of weeks, because the winner has been determined. I would enter a drum roll here if I had one, but unfortunately I do not have that soundbite available. So we are just going to go ahead and pop this picture here up on screen of the winner, and this is going to be our winner this time around. I would attempt to pronounce this if I was able to, but from all I can tell here, this is just a bunch of letters. So congratulations to this person. If you want to claim your gift card code, what you will need to do is you will need to send an email to the email that is on screen, and I will shoot you over that code for that gift card, and then it will be yours. But congratulations, and thank you to everybody who entered into the giveaway this time around. I will be hosting another one of these very, very soon. But until then, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe. Have a great weekend. Continue to be excellent to each other. Peace.
Continue.